Welcome you all for the second session of today's FDP. I would like to invite Ms. Sujatha for this session.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lavan. Good evening, everyone. So let me share the screen. Hope my screen is visible, right?
Yes, ma'am, you can continue.
Yeah. Okay. So I think everyone would have been gone through a lot of technical stuffs all these days. So today we'll be dealing with how storytelling with data. So that would be a essential data science skill, okay, or essential skill for any expertise in any domain. Okay, we'll go through that. Welcome to the presentation on crafting narratives, the art of storytelling with data. I'm delighted to have you all here today, and I want to begin our or kick off our exploration with data storytelling with a question. Okay, I need everyone to reply back in the chat. So as we think about the incredible journey of human evolution, what was one remarkable characteristic that set us apart from animals? I'll just repeat that. Okay. As we think about this journey of human evolution, what would you think was that one remarkable characteristic that sets apart from us from the animals? Humans and animals, what is that one characteristic that sets us apart? Can anyone reply? To not the we have this 7 senses and other thing. There is one remarkable characteristic. Okay, like the Homo sapiens evolved from the other Homo species, right? What was that one remarkable characteristic that set us apart from those other species, Homo sapiens and other species? You can just post in the chat. Anyone is posting? Nothing. Okay, so the one remarkable characteristic, okay, communicating with others and thinking. Yes. Yeah, okay. So that one remarkable difference, right? Like from the other species of sapien, from other than Homo sapiens, right? Like that is our capacity to think differently and complex symbolic communication. Okay. We could communicate, even animals communicate, right? Like with sounds, gestures, and simple symbols. But humans have developed intricate languages and systems of communication that allows us to like share our knowledge, stories, and experiences, right? It's what enabled us to create a collective understanding of this world. And storytelling, that was always been at the heart of it, conveying complex ideas and emotions in a way that connects with others on a deeply human level. Okay, so I think you got the answer. You can see people hear statistics. Okay, when you present a report, okay, if you are doing a project, finally you're preparing the reports and showing them the statistics, everything. They just hear it, but you're like telling it as a story, they feel it. That's what is written. People hear statistics, but they feel the stories, right? In a world like inundated with information, data, the ability to weave compelling stories from data sets us apart. Okay. And like, let's explore how combining analytical precision of data with the emotive power of storytelling can transform numbers or data into impactful narratives that like resonate, inspire, and also like drive meaningful change in the business or in whatever we do, right? This powerful statement written here holds a key truth in the world of data and communication. While statistics like provide the facts, it's the stories that truly resonates with people. Just think about it. We may remember numbers like we may remember numbers temporarily, like, but it is the stories that always stay with us for a lifetime. So when we hear a story, we connect on an emotional level. We like visualize, empathize, and also understand the story, right? A well-crafted story can transform like cold figures into relatable experiences. That's why data storytelling is so crucial. In our journey with data as engineers, we often collect and analyze facts and figures. And but to make these numbers impactful, we must turn them into narratives that touch hearts and minds. So whenever you do even in the civil engineering domain, whenever you do a project, okay, you are going to analyze some rainfall data, okay, or some flood data, flood related data, and you're giving this numbers as your output, there will be no impact. You have to touch the hearts and minds by saying it as a craft, it as a storytelling. This was the in this year, this was the flood, this was the condition of the flood, and this year it was the condition of the flood. This is because of this. You have to connect the points, touch the people's hearts and minds, and then narrate your project. Like that is data storytelling, and you have to use that in all the projects. And as we delve deeper into the world of data storytelling, it reflects on like a prediction made by Google's chief economist, Dr. Hal R. Varian. Back in 2009, he said the ability to take data, to be able to understand it, to process it, to extract value from it, to visualize it, to communicate it. That's going to be a hugely important skill in the next decades. Okay, that would be the most important skill in the next decades. He predicted that in 2009, and his words resonate more strongly today than even before. The landscape he foresaw has materialized, and the importance of data skills has grown exponentially. As we progress through this presentation, remember the wisdom of Dr. Varian, and let's explore how we embody his vision through the art of data storytelling. This visual we already saw in my first presentation. Okay, I saw this graphic that uses Lego pieces in LinkedIn a few days back, and I managed to trace it back to an article titled The Lego Data Story. I feel they explained with the story, like that step enters the emotional intelligence realm by applying resources with purpose and a meaning. We have the resources, but we have to apply it and we have to find a purpose for it and a meaning for that, right? The prior 4 steps, like data, we have data scattered there, and we sort it by color or whatever thing, and then we arrange it and then we present it visually. These are like essentially analysis steps we would do in all the projects and use cases, and would be considered a part of knowledge intelligence. Anyone who is having knowledge would do that, right? Like we all are engineers and we do this in all our day-to-day work. And as per K, knowledge intelligence plus emotional intelligence, that formula, we need to flex our EQ to achieve leadership and success. That's where the actionable comes into picture. Actionable is a very interesting graphic, right? Like because the energy we put into in our creativity is intrinsically motivating when we receive a feedback or for a project that we are serving something of value, right? Your project should serve something of value. It should change something. It should make it should make an impact, right? You have to go to serve some other people or some other cause. That should be the end goal of your project. So it should, that's what this picture depicts. Like it should be actionable, okay, and doable. So let's come into this picture of last mile of analytics. Okay, Dr. Hall's variance foresight leads us to a crucial juncture in our data-driven journey, the last mile of analytics. While we have harnessed the power of data and crafted compelling narratives, the true impact lies in effectively bridging that last mile between the insights and the action. Okay, so I'll just play this. These are the steps, right? What would be the last mile? Imagine the last mile as a bridge between knowledge and transformation. It's where the insights are translated into decisions that shape strategies, innovations, and outcomes. Just like a storyteller's task isn't complete until their tale resonates with their audience, our journey with data isn't fulfilled until our insights drive tangible change. The last mile requires us to communicate clearly, engage stakeholders, and facilitate informed choices. It's where data ceases to be mere numbers and transformed into catalysts for growth and improvement. So, as we start our exploration of data storytelling, we should always remember that our success lies in that final stretch where insights take flight and decisions are made and the impact is realized. Okay, that's the final leap or last mile we have to take up in all our projects. But when we have poor communication, okay, what will happen? We will not get budget or no approval for our projects, no resources, no coordination, or no buy-in because we failed to narrate our project or narrate our action. Okay, so we have to ensure that our data stories achieve the transformative outcomes we aspire to achieve. So about data storytelling, there are mainly 3 components. Okay, that is data, mainly data, right? And then narrative, and then visual. The combination of all 3, right? We'll just see how it intersects. Okay. So when you have a data and you're going to narrate that to someone, what do? You're explaining it. Okay. When a teacher has a data and he's explaining it to his students, he's narrating or explaining it to his students. Where you have data and narrative, then it's explaining. Or you have data and you show it to someone as a visual. Okay, you enlighten them when we use tables or like bar charts or pie charts or some other, when you show them the trend, okay, when you show them the data alone, people will miss the trends, the anomalies or the patterns. But when you show it as a picture or a graph, it is only when we visualize that they can understand, they can understand what's happening. Okay, then we are enlightening them. When data is combined with visuals, then it's enlightening. Then the other one, okay, narrative plus visuals. Any idea on what would be this? So as humans, we always like this combination, okay? A narrator with a visual. We always enjoy going to movies, right? Think of like OTT platforms like Netflix and others that engages us. We have a narrative and a visual that engages us, right? So when you have a narrative combined with visual, that's engagement. When we combine all the three of the attributes, it's very powerful that really make a change in our organization, right? What is that change? We influence others with that. When you combine data, narrative, and visual, we see a change there. We see an impact there. Okay. So LinkedIn looked into the top skills. Okay. In 2020, and persuasion came second. It's like about persuading people to accept and persuading them to act on our insight. That's the main skill and the top skill. Nowadays, people should all have that, right? When we speak of persuasion, we think of Aristotle. There is a triangle here where he divided persuasive appeals, where a lot of overlap here, like ethos, credibility of the presenter. Okay. The people should believe in you, what and your numbers. Whatever you say, the people should believe in you and your numbers and logos. That's the insights are what the story is based on. There should be a logic, there should be a reason behind your project, and finally, emotion. So you have to have capture their emotion, narrative structure, bringing the emotional side to bringing that into the data science. Okay. And telos. So you should have a purpose or a central message for your project or essentially feel a message to the audience. If there is no feel or there is no purpose for your project, then it's a failure. And kairos, the timing must be correct, right? If you're going to do a project on a fire, wildfire data, forest fire data, or a rainfall flooding data, when it's happening, or okay, that would be very useful. And you have to do that on that time. Okay, there is a timing for when you have to present, what you have to present, everything. So it may be a really great insight, but not the most important thing people are worried about at that time. Maybe in the period of COVID, if you have done a project on a COVID, or if you have done something on that data, okay, it would have been very useful for doctors and people there, right? So the timing is very important, and it should be like it should be the thing people are more worried about. So these are the persuasive appeals of Aristotle, and we have to use that in our project also. Okay, just for fun, I'll just show you some personalities, and we'll see who they are famous for. Okay, how many of you have had a chance to read this book, Yuval Noah Harari's fantastic book, like Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind? It's a must read, okay? The very first point he discussed in this book was about the characteristic of Homo sapiens, the way of communication they did, the way they explored, and the other things. Okay. So as we are dealing with data storytelling, I just wanted to mention about this book here. Who's this? You can put it in the chat. Famous for I'll skip the other, right. This is stop. You can post the names in the chat. Yes, Dr. Manmohan Singh, correct. And this is any idea who this is? I'll just, I'll tell at the end. This most of you would have known, right? Chetan Bhagat. This is Arundhati Roy, a famous writer. This is a famous painter, renowned painter in Kerala. He was a king. Raja Ravi Varma. Okay. He's Nambudripad. Okay. He's also an cartoonist. This this lady, anyone know who this lady is? Her books are very famous. There is a series of her books that came into picture series also. We have movies on that. Magical movies, right? Harry Potter. She's J.K. Rowling. Yeah. This is one cartoonist from Kerala. So I just showed these pictures to say that people are different, right? Like we have different strengths. Some may have data skills, some may have narrative skills, some may have visual skills. Okay, so those who have data as their strength, they become analysts, they become economists, they become statisticians and data scientists. Those who have narrative skills, they may be marketers, journalists, salespeople, and executives. Okay. And those who are good at visuals, they may be a graphic designer, artist, educator, or student. So identify which is your strength first. Okay. Some of us may be strong in different angles. Some may be very analytical. Some may be very comfortable, like with making a story and whatever you get, right? Some may be very artistic and visualize the numbers very good. You have a good sense of visualization. We have some weaknesses, right? Maybe we are weak in narrative, or maybe we are weak in the visualization part, but we can strengthen those parts, right? We have to find our areas where we are weak. Check your biases, right? Just check whether you're weak in your narrative portion or data portion or visualization portion. And then you have methods to build up your weak areas. Okay, if you are weak in your data, just become more data literate, know your data ties to business strategies, understand where your data comes from, understand what a metric is, what the KPI is, and be curious, like explore the numbers, ask questions, and other things. When you want a narrative, build up your narrative skill, you have certain points, and visual, you have certain points. Okay, I'm not going to read all these points. We'll just and go through the other slides where we have to use our skills, right? So data, the first part of our data storytelling, like you want a foundation. The foundation of your data story is your data. Let's focus on data. Your role as a data storyteller or a project owner is like explore the numbers. Then you find an insight, you want to share it to others. Like how often do you get in its way? Like some researchers, we have very small sample size. Statistically significant results are not there. Sometimes when we see our data, we get excited, but we don't scrutinize it, right? Like, no, we don't go closely to it. And we need to be very careful and take more scientific approach. Like we should not, our biases should not fool us. There should never be a faulty reasoning, or you should never make a mistake consciously. Okay, you should know what a correlation is and what a causation is. Always a correlation will not lead to a causation. So we have to, like, there is a saying like cursed by knowledge, right? Like means sometimes knowing too much about something can be burden or make life more challenging. It's like once you know something, you can't unknow it, and this can affect how you see the world or your data or how you make your decisions. So first, learn to unlearn and statistically analyze your data. Use good amount of sample size, and you find the correlation and also the causation. And when you find an insight from your data, okay, you analyzed it, you found something, okay, oh, this connects to this. This leads to this. Flooding. So rainfall leads to flooding. The deforestation leads to flooding. You found that with your data. You have ample amount of data and you confirmed that statistically. You have got an insight. Okay, good. Your role as a data storyteller, explore the numbers, then what you do, right? Then you narrate it, right? That is the structure of your data storytelling. So when we come to this narrative part, we have different models, and we have very simple model and very complex model. But I'm going to just tell you about Freytag, who's a German playwright. He like studied Shakespearean plays. Okay, and he found like a common thing he found in all the Shakespearean plays are there would be an introduction, right? Always there would be an introduction in all our stories, right? There would be a rising action and then a falling action and then resolution. So this common thing he found in all the plays and he wanted to connect it. Okay, let's see this pyramid and go into our data set. So in our data storytelling arc, here we see setting and hook. What is that? Like when you're going to explain your project to someone, first explain what is the background, what's the current situation. So you have to explain the characters and hook the audience, right? When you're going to explain them, you have to keep them in hook. You have to set the situation, explain them the background, the situation, the characters, everything. So that's the first part, setting up the background and everything. Then establishing the hook is like the audience understanding the numbers. Whatever numbers you're explaining them, the audience should understand them by telling them what the data is. Next, the spike in metric, the decrease in metrics, the rising insights, everything you have to tell them. Okay, there is a metric. So these many people bought this in this much time. So this is the percentage of buying. Okay, this is the percentage of customers churning out, or this is the percentage of rainfall we got this because of this rainfall. So you have something, some spike in some metric, some or decrease in metric that you have to explain them. And then you have the rising insights. Then you will reach to that aha moment, okay, and the observations where you have a big major finding, where you will explain them the central insight of your whole project. Okay, I did this, then I finally found that this is my major finding. We need to show the audience how do they act on them, what are the next steps they need to take, right? You have a solution, then don't leave it there. Just explain them what the solution is and what the next steps are. We might need to give different options to them, like so that they can make informed decisions. And through this process, we are hoping that the audience is getting knowledge and also insights into the business. Even if they don't act on every data story, but let's like try. Okay, we'll just try to impress the audience with our story by explaining our project. So it is the same as this, right? Like free tax pyramid, when he like explored the Shakespearean plays, what he found, right? First introduction, then rising, then climax, then falling action, then resolution. The same is what we are using in a data storytelling art. Okay, let's also analyze. I will show you how this works on action. So Pixar, you all know Disney Pixar. So they are like amazing in storytelling, right? Like they do have a story spine. Ken Adams, he was a teacher and an author, created this story spine. And every Pixar movie, you go and watch that, it would follow this format. That's just like pick all the Pixar's story spine would be like once upon a time there was so and so. There was a king, there was a queen. Okay, every day they did the same thing, some routine work they will be doing. But one day suddenly there you'll like catch up, right? Because of that this happened, then because of that this happened. You'll have a narrative until finally someone came to rescue them or something happened, right? And ever since then you'll have the resolution. This would be the story spine of all the Pixar movies. And so connecting it to the data story arc, So the compatibility here is like the setting the context, hook, interesting, catch the audience. So once upon a time, there was every day this happened. But one day, when you stop there, like you're hooking the audience, and first you were like setting up the audience, right? Like you were explaining them, he is the king, he is the queen. You'll be explaining the characters. But one day something happened, right? Like you hook the audience, and then the rising insights you are explaining to them. Because of that, this happened. Because of that, this happened. Okay, these are the explanation to the audience, and then an aha moment until finally someone came to rescue. So in your project, what you'll say until finally this is my uh, understanding about this, or this is the solution. And finally, and ever since then, you'll give a solution with different approaches, right? Driving action, what they need to do, what is the action. So there is a comparison between the Pixar's story spine and our data storytelling. Like in any project, any domain, this is necessary, right? Before going into some, yeah, I'll just show this and then go back to that. Okay, this is a project we did, and it's for a booking. Okay, so booking for some styling and other thing in so this is for some booking. Okay, and they wanted to know how the bookings or revenue increased in 2019 and 20. Okay, while seeing the chart, you'll know bookings will increase 3.3% in 2019 and 20. That's a forecasted value. And the revenue is expected to increase this many dollars in 2019-20. Okay. And the social media, you just go through this and you'll get the social media is driving more bookings. Right from this graph, you'll get that. Okay. And why? Social media is driving more bookings, is expected to generate 31% of the bookings in 2019-20 compared to the 2020 22% in the year 2016-18. It's moving up. It converts at a higher rate. Okay. Social media. So we are picking up social media here, and then we are going in depth. So social media with contributing larger percentage of the booking. So let's see how has the business spent on in marketing last year. So in the marketing social media, they have spent only $770 dollars. Okay. But the conversion rate for that social media is high. So what we should do, we have to spend more on social media marketing. That's our insight, and we have to substantiate it with a powerful data. We'll go. Then they drill down, like break down the money we spend for social media. So we have Facebook, we have YouTube. We are spending the highest for Facebook, not investing much in the LinkedIn because we don't have much attention, and 3.85% we have much higher in LinkedIn conversion rate. Here conversion rate is like the rate of people who are booking more. Okay, here. So booking value has also increased. So now we'll find the key segments, the characters in display. Okay, who is going to book skiing? Maybe it's a teen or family or getaway, maybe toddlers with toddlers, people with families, and also couples can also come there. Like we'll get the who is having more value. So we find that teen and family, okay, they have an average value of $4,750. And that is a lucrative segment we are targeting, much higher concentration on LinkedIn and teen family getaway. We need to concentrate on LinkedIn and teen family getaway, not the others. We found out our key segment of customers whom we should concentrate on. Okay. So another insight, like we uncovered all are distributed, right? Like they are all distributed, but a couple of bookings with a higher range was an outlier here, right? Like the frequency of booking, if you saw, and their value is mapped here. But there was one booking which has only two bookings, right? There was only two bookings, but the value of the booking is like $11,000. Okay, it was a business gathering. There were many people, so it was an outlier. But people are not going to consider that, right? Like, so we are going to reach that. What should we do? So the strategy we proposed, we are increasing the 20K to 200K. Earlier, we invested only 20K on LinkedIn, right? We're going to increase the 20K to 200K, and the proposed LinkedIn strategy will increase revenues by 5.1% in 2019 to 2020. So we are going to just show that incremental value there. Just show 900K, that's a segment of booking, other segment of booking, and the corporate bookings. We have only a few bookings, like 20, but their value will be around 300K. So what happens here? Our dollars will be increasing, and we'll have a revenue increase of $1.2 million. So, but we'll increase this. Okay, we'll use this 200K for marketing in LinkedIn. But where will this 200K come from? We found that insight from our analysis. By analyzing the data, we found the insight that we need 200K. We have to invest in LinkedIn. Okay, then our revenue would increase. You know all this, but where would you take this 200K from? When you propose this to a business, you have to tell them the options too, just not the solution, the approaches. So we are increasing that 20 to 200K. What we'll do, cut down the paid search and displayed ads. We have different modes, right? Like we are going to cut down that, or we can do there's two options. We can cut down totally the paid search and display ads, or we'll shift around like dollar among the social media. There is different social medias like YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. So we are going to shift the dollars among the social media. That's another option. Option 3, it's like shaving off a little bit from the channels like display and paid ad. No need to cut off anything. Okay, just take something from the display ad and pay ad and reshuffling among the social, not hitting any channel or social media. So that is the end of the data storytelling and open for discussion. You are open to discussion here, and just give 3 options to the business. Okay, you are proposing a solution, and then you are also giving them 3 options. How, from where should that 200K come? That solution also you are giving. So behind the scenes, if you see the narrative arc, I'll just explain this again, and then you will connect it all, the parts of the story spine. The first, we are like a recommendation. We are saying this is what we do. So this is a solution. How the narrative structure is really helps us. Your insights, ideas come together, be presented in a format like that really resonates to people. Arc and story spike are both compatible, right? Like, see, if you just see here, what you're doing, setting up the hook with the first 3 slides. You're explaining them this, the booking increasing, the social media is the most important factor, and among social media, this is what we see. And also next, we are going on with the story. Like LinkedIn, if LinkedIn is used, these are the key segments. And for LinkedIn, if we are going to spend 200, we have an outlier. These are all like we are rising the insights, and finally you're like telling the business would be more into money related things and revenue, right? Like when they see a increase in revenue, they would be happy. In this project, I'm not mentioning all the other projects, but in this project, when they see a revenue increase, or in your projects, when you are going to do it for a social cause, if there is a reduction in crime or something after your project is implemented, that would be the aha moment in your project, right? Like when you show them that, okay, wow, they'll say it's an aha moment. Okay, wow moment, and finally this happened. But after that, okay, you are going to spend 200K in LinkedIn, but I need a solution, right? From where will I take the 200K? So that's the solution. And ever since then, you will have three options. You will decide from that, right? So this is how you have to narrate your story, narrate your project. So this is one of my projects example, and we'll go to the visuals part. Like this is very very needful of the R, and the scenes of these is like the scenes of your data story. Whatever people are seeing, like as a data storyteller, really need to understand the human perception, right? Like what they are perceiving. We have to understand that. So I'll walk you through some of the models, okay, that we can use in our day-to-day projects that help us better and like more effective in visual storytelling. So the models I really like is the Cleveland's model, which was introduced in mid 1980s, and it's really about looking at different graphical methods and how effective they are at comparison. At top of the scale here, like most accurate used for comparisons. Down the more, it's like more general. Okay, sorry. Next theory here is like Gestalt. He is a famous psychologist working on human perception laws. Here what we can see is he's leveraging the data storytelling, right? Like you can see the proximity. I'll explain all this again in the coming up slides, but just this is the picture, I mean, high level picture of the theory. Okay. You should have a connection, you should have an enclosure, you should have a continuity and closure. And the last one is how we look at what makes things stand out. Color being one of the most prominent one here. Many different ways may by which we can make them like you have to notice something, right? Like when you're showing a graph full of blue bar chart or something, blue columns, you pop out one different in color. Okay, it is going to attract the attention of the viewers, right? Or if you just change the position or alignment, or if you just change the size of one bar chart or intensity of the color or orientation or a shape or emotion. So all these are some of the attributes which like capture the attention of the audience. Pre-attentive attributes, they can be used in your visualization. Okay, so I'll just go in depth. Why do like Cleveland, Gestalt, and pre-attentive attributes, all them, right? So they have all of them have some like Cleveland has a clarity, like to select the right charts, you need to share your insights, right? And Gestalt's theory, it's for the ease of use, streamline the charts for easier consumption and other things, you have to use that. And at last, pre-attentive attributes apply design elements to highlight key points of your presentation. Okay. Yes. This was used to data story. Okay, first we'll see how it was used. Looking at like a bunch of different bar charts are shown here, right? All have a common baseline. Can you see that? We have a line there, vertical line there. It's all a common baseline. Very easy to compare up and down the bar chart. So if we have a common line here, really leverage accurate comparison. Another ways I could have presented the same information. You have a baseline here, right? Can you see this? The baseline. So when you have a pie chart here, okay, you have a pie chart here. There is a common baseline. So you can compare it, 12 o'clock baseline. There are challenges in pie chart, like after the first value. So the second value starts with another baseline. How to compare the other slices? It's very hard, right? Not as effective because no common baseline. So when you see, there is a common baseline here for all the first part of the pie. Okay, so you can compare 37 by seeing 23 and 27. Okay, but for the next slice, okay, there is no common baseline. The first line is here, second line is here, and the third line is here. How do you compare? You don't have anything to compare here, right? There are different. There is a difference there, right? Like there is no shared baseline. So when you see this, small multiples can be an option for this pie chart. Instead of like single pie chart, you can show it like this, so that all have same baseline, so that you can compare it, right? Like instead of that bar chart, if you're using pie chart, you can use it like this. So you can also use small multiples can reduce noise. Instead of a single chart with so many lines, you can use small multiples that can reduce noise. Also stacked bar chart. The same data, you can use a stacked bar chart like a common baseline, but however, to make comparisons with other fields, can't label things, right? Probably losing some of the effective communication here. So this is also not the best method. This is a common baseline for the stack chart, but here you don't have a common baseline, no shared baselines. So to compare dollars in tau is very difficult. So I'll show you two types of chart. The first one, sharing the insight about revenue. So comparing the total revenue. Okay. Much bigger. Okay. And you see the first chart. That's why use the hybrid bar chart here to get the comparison between the new segments. So okay, when you see the first chart, what is that? First was the forecasted revenue, 23.65 million. That was the forecasted revenue earlier. And after you incorporated the new idea of your LinkedIn idea, then your revenue was 24.85 million. It's a new total revenue you're going to generate. And new segment of bookings would be 900 and new corporate bookings would be 300K. But when you see this chart, because it's very long, there is a difference between 24.85 and 23.65, but still you cannot see the change in revenue, right? Yeah. So what we'll do is we use a hybrid stacked bar chart here. We just give the increase in revenue here. Okay, we'll just give the incremental revenue like 900 plus 300. This is the incremental revenue you're going to get. Just use this as a stacked bar chart, and then you can write the total revenue you're going to, the total increase in the revenue. So that when you see this graph itself, like, oh, this much revenue, 1.2 million revenue. But it is the same chart here also, right? 2.6, 23.65 minus 24.85 is 1.2 million. But again, the you can see the difference, right? Like when you show this picture, the listeners would say, ah, wow, 1.2 million. But it is the same here. But when you visualize it, when you scale it, it can create problems. So you have to reduce it and you have to use whatever chart you want when you have to represent your data. Hope everyone is following, right? And the other one, right? Moving on to the Gestalt theory. So simplicity. He has many rules like for creating charts. Okay. The laws of simplicity. We had easier job, right? Like audience job is harder now. You have more number of value labels, you have an axis, you have extras. When you see this, the audience would get confused. You know what it is, but the audience would get confused. Does the axis needs to be labeled? You think of it, okay, with all the values labeled, extras. If it's critical, if isn't, then it should be removed. If it's critical, then it should be kept. Okay. So when you see the same bar chart again like this, okay, just annotate only the values you need, and you're not going to annotate the axis, and you're going to annotate your x-axis here. So it's very clear, right? Like when you see all these things and the next chart, which one is good? You're removing the noise. Don't label everything. Yeah. Then like you have to sort the values, right? In the first chart, the comparison is very difficult. Like it's given in an alphabetical order. Okay, but the comparison is very difficult and it's not consumable also. Next, in the next chart, you can see that it's very consumable. We have sorted it out, right? The values are sorted and the graph is very smooth. So we can sort the values. These are all like simple steps, maybe simple steps, but will create a great impact in all of your projects. Okay, similarity. So in similarity, you can use colors strategically, right? Use the colors strategically. So if you see, what is the difference here between the colors? So you have to use it strategically, how to use colors. So if you see like this, you will not understand anything, right? There are different colors. So are you going to talk about team or LinkedIn? What are you doing here? Okay. So the next one is proximity. Create a spacing. Not same. When you see, it's not same as the other states, right? Like all is one category. Then California, New York, and Massachusetts, it's another category, right? So all means the whole continent, right? Like all of USA. So it's a different thing and others are different. So you have to create a space between them or do something there. Color or brightening or multiple principles should be used there. Okay. Also applies to labeling here. So we'll just see how we did that. So we introduced a space there. Can you see this? Everything is in the same. And we introduced a space there. So you know what is this and what is that. Okay. Let's introduce a space and change the color, organize the key content. Okay, just organize it properly in a different color. All is in a different shade, I mean darker shade, and others are all in a lighter shade of color. And like you can use direct labeling instead of legends. Okay, see the order may change in side labeling when you're labeling it there. It's different. Like direct labeling is good, and people like it's easier to follow. And what? So if someone is going to see this graph, he'll see orange line. Okay, what is orange line? You will go down and search for orange line. Oh, it's a paid search. And blue, it's an email. We'll go back again to the legend and search. Well, what is that? Blue means email. Okay, all the legends are given down. And if it's possible, you can label it directly. That's one of the options. So here, what I can do is just do this. Okay. Order may change, right? When you're giving it in a side labeling, what is it's a difficulty is like the order may change there. Lines may change. So direct is good, right? Like here. How is this? So it's easier to follow, right? For the people. And here, use direct labeling. Here also it's like when you give it in a side legend, you don't know what is what, right? Like it's very difficult. But in the direct labeling, it's very clear. Use explanatory titles. Okay. So like at 37%, LinkedIn has the highest concentration of key teen family getaway segment. That we have to, that's the highest concentration, right? Like you have to spot it out with a color. Then the next one is connection. You have to link annotation to data points. Okay, when you see this, you have some annotations like 180 inches, April 17th was the peak of snow depth. What is shown here is like we have only had 300 guesses. We are going to annotate the highest data point and we say what is what. Just carefully look into this graph. Okay, what are the other things you can see? Approximately 50% of guests stay during Jan to mid-Feb. Okay, you can annotate this also, right? You can do this. And what are the other things you can do? I'll just show that again, okay? So in the pre-attentive attributes, what are the design elements you use to highlight your key points? So here what you can see is the color, okay? directly the audience focus will go onto the social media, right? You want that and you're doing that. Color is probably the most powerful tools in highlighting and like pushing everything to grayscale and then popping it out in some other color to capture audience. So next, complement with grayscale. Use it to complement and other colors in like fade colors. This is one of the method. And other colors, like you're fading other colors and just popping it out, your color. Intensity. So use bold colors for emphasis. You need to emphasis on social media, then make it bold. Width. Okay, there's a content return here in the left-hand side. Social media increased by 60%. Someone just looks at this graph, they should, like their eyes should go on to the social media, increased by 60%, 31% of bookings in 2019 and 13, right? So there, what we have done, just increased the font size and making it bold and highlighting it. The same graph as before, and this one. Can you see the difference? And also in this graph, okay, what we have added, right? We have added shapes to draw attention to the chart elements. We have added snowflakes for snow depth. We have added a skying person to just represent the number of guests. So we have added shapes here that is a good impact on this graph. And like we have some final thoughts and perception models. Okay, I'll just combine everything for clarity. Like we can use similarity, we can use color, we can use shapes, we can use the concept of simplicity. You make your graph very simple and it will be very appealing, right? You have to make it similar so that you can compare, and you can use colors. There is some concept called proximity. As I showed you, that you can use a space between two things and you can explain whatever you want to do. Color and size, you can combine all of these and use it in your graphs. Okay, so tying back all of these to Aristotle's theory, like data storytelling or insights, are you credible? First, when you are going to explain them something, you should be credible. Is this the right time to show your insight or share your insight? Then, do you have a clear purpose of your project? Okay, don't do it for a sake, but do you have a really a clear purpose for your project? Have taken time for compelling narrative or not? All these leads to your last mile of analytics or whatever project you're doing. This is the last mile of your project. Okay, so before this, uh, he's Ignace, okay, mid 19th century statistician, like who discovered the first time like hand washing could save countless lives. In even in the COVID period, we all did that, right? Like he discovered that in mid 19th century, like he said, wash your hands, and that could save countless lives, but failed to communicate his findings effectively to a skeptical medical community. He could offer like no theoretical explanation for his findings of reduced mortality or due to hand washing. um, he couldn't explain that with some explanation. Okay, and some doctors even offended his suggestion and like even mocked at him for it. uh, so his findings like earned widespread acceptance only after years of his death, after his death. Okay, only when Louis Pasteur confirmed the germ theory, giving Semmelweil's or his Ignace observation as a theoretical explanation, Louis Pasteur confirmed that if hand washing would reduce mortality or diseases, it will save lives, countless lives. So, like this, many bold, incredible insights or whatever we find in our project, all those will suffer similar fate if they are not like successfully molded into data stories. Uncovering key insights is one skill, and like communicating them is another. Both are equally critical to deriving value from the data of your business or whatever you do. So data storytelling represents an exciting, a new field of expertise where art and science truly converge. my hope is like more data storytellers from across um, um, who are listening, okay, will emerge to ensure adoption of more transformative insights, and every brilliant revelation or should find its deserving spotlight. So by this, I want to end this presentation with an allegory. Once upon a time, like a truth, okay, she went to a village. She was very hungry and tired, and she knocked all the doors in the village. But no one invited her. Nobody wanted to see her, and she was rejected. A girl, like, who was passing by, she asked her who she was. And after hearing her story, she said, "Nobody is interested in the naked truth. Okay, here, take one of these clothes." And I have put it on, and she gave her clothes. And then what happened? Truth put it on. To her surprise, everybody invited her, talked to her, and fed her. So we have to fulfill like our responsibilities as a data storyteller or a person who is explaining our project, so that we need to clothe our insights or truth with we have in a narrative, in a story, so that our audience will receive it and then they will act on it. Okay. So by this, I conclude my presentation. If you want to read more about data storytelling or learn more about data storytelling, I can suggest you some books. I'll put it on the chat. Any other? There are some videos out there like data storytelling with data and other things. I will just play one of this. Okay. These are all the same concept, okay, but you can. I'll just the same thing, whatever I showed, labeling your graph. Can you hear the presentation? If no, I'll just stop it and again share. I'll just stop and share again.
Point is whether to show the axis or label the data points directly. Here are some tips to help you choose. Showing the axis without any labels is perfect for showcasing data trends, and we recently looked when creating a graph. One decision point is whether to show the axis or label the data points directly. Here are some tips to help you choose. Showing the axis without any labels is perfect for showcasing data trends and patterns without clutter. Ideal when the overall shape matters more than specific values. Or if you need to convey precise numbers, labeling each point works well. Help to reduce redundancy and focus on individual data points by removing the vertical y-axis. Alternatively, combine both the axis and a selection of labels which help highlight critical data points while maintaining context. Use labels sparingly to draw attention where it matters most. By thoughtfully designing your labels and axes, you'll create more effective and engaging data visualization. What is your go-to approach for labeling charts? Share your thoughts in the comments. We recently
Millions of women in India of working age are actually not working. This is possibly because they don't have the right opportunity. They had a career.
We recently looked at how to create a shaded region to display a forecast area. In this video, we will once again differentiate actuals from forecasts by adding a vertical line to act as a separator. This effect can be instantly achieved by adding a line to our graph, but the manual placement might cause problems further down the line. With our data, you'll see a new column, line. We have a value of 0 in the period where we want to draw our line. We'll add a new data series using this new column for our y values. Currently we don't see anything, that's okay. We can select it using format and finding our new line series. Now we have it highlighted, we can add error bars. by clicking Chart Design, Add Chart Element, More Error Bar Options. In the formatting options, click the graph icon, Direction we want as plus, End Style, No Cap, and the error amount we want a fixed value. Let's set this to our maximum y-axis value of 250. Finally, we can format the line to our preference. Combining this with other techniques can create a visual which now clearly displays our forecast. We looked at how to create a shaded region to Bar charts are a simple chart type, but this visual feels cluttered and overwhelming. White space and consistent alignment are elements of design that when done well, we don't even notice. But when lacking, we struggle with the resulting visual. The good news is that just a handful of simple formatting steps can help make this busy graph feel easier to pass. To begin, I'll change the orientation of the axis labels and resize the graph to fit the category labels onto one line. Trading spaces in the data are removed before the chart title is formatted and aligned with the left edge of the visual. Left aligning the legend under the title creates one clean line. I'll increase the space between the bars, allowing them to breathe, and next I'll introduce a gap between the purchase sentiment and the features section, finally removing the chart border and grid lines. Looking better already, but I'm sure you've identified further opportunities to format this graph. So why not give it a go? Download the data and improve this visual in our community exercise.
Yeah, so you can all go and like check what are the various methods, and like you can implement all these techniques in your visualization and how you narrate your project. And you all know, as engineers, we all know how to analyze our data, how to bring outputs and other things, but we have to concentrate on this part of narration. Okay, so this is very important. Any queries, or we can end this meeting?
Thank you, Sujatha, for your wonderful presentation.
Yes, thank you, Lavanya ma'am. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak among eminent professors here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, you can connect tomorrow for the last session of FDP. Question will be shared in the WhatsApp group, and feedback link will be shared tomorrow. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the WhatsApp group. Thank you.